This week, Art in the Year wishes you a Happy New Year and features film director Dan Meyer discussing his upcoming picture Bulls to be set and filmed in Michigan City. Next, we feature internationally acclaimed pianist, recording artist, and educator Sophia Agranovich. Our spotlight is in For the Love of Art Fair, coming in March 2023 with its founder, Shireen Johnson.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM and WVLP 103.1 FM, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Art on the Air is heard Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming at wvlp.org, and every Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Information about Art on the Air is available on our website, breck.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our shows are available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for more information about upcoming shows and interviews. And we'd like to welcome back to Art in the Air from the For the Love of Art Fair. It's in South Bend at the Century Center. And that'll be March 4th and 5th of next year coming up. That'll be the 9th season, by the way, though our guest has done these for 13 years. But what we're talking about is also the chance for artists to still be part of that. Shireen Klein, welcome back to Art in the Air Spotlight.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, Esther.
I love the name, For the Love of Art.
Well, I definitely do this for the love. I mean, that's why I started it, was the fact that I do this because I love the arts. I love being around artists. I love learning about their process and just the energy that they bring to the show.
So how many artist slots do you have for the show total?
Well, we normally end up with 50 to 60 artists. And right now we have 15 openings.
Okay, and then this will be airing it, at the end of this year and early next year. So you still have 15 openings, but then when they're gone, correct?
But I still encourage you to reach out to me, because someone maybe had a change of plans, they're going on vacation, something happened in the family. So once in a while we have people that have to cancel, and we may have that medium open for you.
Okay. Now, do you obviously kind of personally curate this a little bit, so you're not just getting junk in the show, but what types of art and artists are you looking for a variety?
Well, I definitely do curate it. I go on road trips. And so one of the road trips that I decided to take this summer was to Louisville, Kentucky and Lexington. So we have a dozen artists coming up from there. I'm always I'm looking for those artists that are pushing the bar, thinking out of the box. But there's pottery and, ceramics, sculptures. There's 2 stone sculptors coming this year, photography, fine photography like yourself, and paintings, jewelry. There's so many different mediums. I mean, we have pulp artists. We have a paper artist. So, makes handmade pulp and then paints on the paper. So I don't rule out mediums, because we have artists that they have their MFAs. So, yes, they've maybe graduated with a Master's of Fine Arts. But also there our artists have learned something. They've taken something that they learned from a trade, and they pursued a full-time, to become a full-time artist. And then there's the outsider artist as well.
Excellent. So, yeah, you've been doing this for 13 years, but 9 years under that name. What drove you to do that? You kind of hit some of that, but and do you do any art yourself?
I actually do. I'm very creative, but I don't have enough time. Half the time, I just don't have enough time to do something. Once a year, I try to put something together and enter in a juried show in Three Rivers, Michigan, which is coming up. The deadline is like January 1st. So if anyone wants to enter that juried regional in Three Rivers, Michigan, they're welcome to do that as well. I'm always open to share other opportunities with the artists. Like with my show, yes, it's my show. I created the show, but these artists, there are artists there's producers and gallery owners that actually come to my show and recruit, or they're looking for, artists to be spotlighted and show in their venue or their museum. So there's a lot of opportunities to be a part of For the Love of Art Fair.
What type of art do you collect?
Oh, wow. You wouldn't believe how full my house is, Esther.
Yeah.
Besides wall art, 2D art, paintings, I actually collect some antique, like antique posters. I don't know. Glass art is my biggest thing. I love glass. A lot of Viking glass. Lalique. I have one little Tiffany I can say that I have. My house is full. It's definitely. I have a little dog, as you notice, but it's not a place for kids to play, unfortunately.
So is there something else you want to do? Like, would you want to expand to do like a second event during the year? I know this is a lot of work to put it together, but would you be interested in doing like a second event, or do you do some other events outside the big one?
I used to do 5 shows in the summer at one time, and then I decided to get away from the elements of rain, cold, wind, and all those things that comes with the summer events. That's when I decided to go indoors. And actually, it was Art Expo and SOFA that I went to visit Brabant. He inspired me. He's never going to leave me. Okay, Joe and Brabant will never leave me, but because they always believed in me. But they invited me to a SOFA show, and I decided that I would take my show and do an indoor show, the same caliber of SOFA, and at a 1/10 the size. However, the artist would represent themselves, and they'd get 100% of their profit. All they need to do is pay for their booth, which my booth fee is very low. It's only $350 for a booth for a 10 by 10.
That's really an excellent, price and great deal. And yeah, Brabant and Joe, what a wonderful pair. And I know you were very, very close to them, and it's kind of sad that we have lost them this past year. But you were right in there with them. So
well, I'm hoping, just let you know, that Leo Lenting, he hopes to come in, and we're probably going to show Brabant's work again at the 2023.
Oh, good. Good. I was hoping that was going to be part of it.
So we need to wrap up here in just a few moments here. So tell us again what you're looking for, the dates of the show, where it's at, and everything, Shireen.
Okay. March 4th and 5th, South Bend Century Center. If anyone would like to apply, they can go to fortheloveofartfair.com. Make sure that's not the number 4, but FOR, fortheloveofartfair.com. Or just reach out to me through Facebook. You can reach out through Shireen Johnson, because I checked that one more than my real name, Shireen Klein.
Okay, thank you so much for coming in Art in the Air Spotlight, Shireen Klein, and it's for the Love of Art Fair, March 4th and 5th. Thanks again for coming in Art in the Air Spotlight.
Best of luck so much.
Thank you.
Art on the Air Spotlight and the full 1-hour Art on the Air program on Lakeshore Public Radio is brought to you by Macaulay Real Estate in Valparaiso, Olga Patrician, Senior Broker. You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM, and on WVLP, 103.1 FM.
We would like to welcome Dan Meyer to Art on the Air. Dan is an actor, writer, and producer from Michigan City, Indiana. He has written several screenplays and wrote and produced the 2017 Netflix movie Pottersville. After dividing his time between Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago, he has settled back to his hometown since the pandemic. Dan plans on filming a movie in Michigan City based on a script he developed around 20 years ago called Bulls, a buddy comedy about two friends and a dart team. Thank you, Dan, for joining Larry and I on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome. We're pleased to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Dan, we always like to start off our interviews finding out a little bit about our guests, their history. And since you're from the region originally, tell us about how you got from where you were to where you are now. So talk about yourself.
I was born in Michigan City, went to school here, ended up at Rogers, and I always kind of gravitated toward the arts. When I was a kid, in high school, I breakdancing had just started, and I taught myself how to breakdance, and then ended up teaching breakdancing here in Michigan City at the Y and at another dance studio and stuff. And then went to IU and spent a couple years there. I wasn't kind of floated around, and I found and I ended up working doing costumes for the ballet and the opera while I was there for a little bit. But college really wasn't for me, so I left and went to Chicago and worked at an art gallery. And had an apartment with a friend, and kind of everything all fell apart in 1 week. Like I lost my job, the roommate thing fell apart. I was dating this girl. She broke up with me, and I didn't know what I was going to do. But I always knew in the back of my mind that I had wanted to act. I wanted to be an actor. And I thought, well, I'm going to give that a shot. And me and the girlfriend at the time got back together. And I went to the library. I took an acting class, but didn't really like that. Went to the library, got a bunch of acting books, went on an audition. It came down to Mike Shannon and I for the lead. He got it. I got a smaller part in the play. He's been one of my best friends ever since. We ended up starting a theater company together in Chicago, and that was it.
Let's dial back to your time in Michigan City, like at Rogers. Did you do any theater productions there?
No.
No.
No, never did a play. Never was in the drama department. I just knew it was always something I wanted to try, but I never really thought about it in high school.
Right. Well, and also live acting is different than like film and other acting. So you filmed a theater company. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Mike and I were roommates, and we used to walk all over. So we were like, let's start a theater company. So we called it the Walking Company. And we did a couple of plays. And one play that we did the Zoo Story, Edward Albee's Zoo Story. Mike loved that play. I loved the play. And it's just two characters. And but we did a pretty unique thing. We did it at a little, I think it was called Cafe Voltaire there. And they would give you the space for free in the basement. But then you would split the box office with them, something like that. And we decided, so we got the space, and we decided to not rehearse. The play was two people that meet on a park bench in New York, and we're like, well, they've never met, so why rehearse it? I trust you, you trust me. We both went and worked on our parts. We got a park bench, and I sat down on the park bench, and when Mike decided to enter the stage, he did. And then we did the play, and it sold out every night. I think the reader, it got like one of their sort of like, I don't know what it was called, like a recommended, review. And they said, this is the next John Malkovich and Gary Sinise of Chicago theater. And as I was saying, it's like, and they were half right. Mike turned out to be like the next John Malkovich of Chicago theater.
What year was that, Dan?
What year was that? It had to be like, maybe 93 or 94 or something like that. Yeah, somewhere around there.
So do you still dance?
Not breakdance, but I can, I can dance.
Very good. So how long did you do that? From the 90s? How long were you in that little theater?
Not too long. What happened was there was a casting director in Chicago named Jane Brody, who I met early on. I had just done a couple of plays. Well, actually, that happened before I came back and Mike and I did the theater company. But she met me pretty early on. I had done play with Mike and then one other, and I got into her acting class. And then she found me one day and called me up, and she's like, "Hey, I just had lunch with this casting director and this manager from Los Angeles. You don't need a manager, but I told him all about it. You should go and meet them." And one thing led to another. I won't tell you the whole story, but at the end of the meeting, the manager said, "I want to sign you with the club." And she came back and met me on a couple of occasions, and then I ended up signing with her. And I went to New York and then out to LA. But I was just brand new. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a goofy kid and just had done 2 plays. So then I left and came back, and that's when Mike and I started the theater company. And we did that for a little bit. And then I went back out to LA again and stayed longer. And then Mike, has a theater company now. They're called Red Orchid. That's a great space that's been around for like 30 years now, pretty close to it.
So you get to LA and start telling you about our story while you're there, about how that worked out.
Yeah. So, well, this is great because this is sort of how Bulls got originated. So, when I moved out there, Paul Rudd and I had a mutual friend, and we were both kind of starting our acting careers. And our mutual friend was like, well, you guys got to meet. I think you guys will like each other. And we met. He was the first person I met when I got to LA. And we just hit it off. And we've been great friends ever since. And he had just done Clueless, but Clueless hadn't come out. And then I got cast in a movie pretty quickly, got lucky. And then that movie called The Locust, and it ended up starring Vince Vaughn and Kate Capshaw was in it, and Ashley Judd, Jeremy Davies, and then Paul. Paul ended up being in it too, and me. And it was the first movie Vince did after Swingers. After he did Swingers, but Swingers hadn't come out. And I knew Jon Favreau a little bit from Chicago because we had been cast in a play together there. So I got to see sort of how they're, that whole. I love the movie Swingers. I loved it then. I love it now. I just think it's so they're both amazing in it, and John did an amazing job writing it, and I was just really inspired by what those guys did with Swingers. So, and Paul introduced me to darts. He called me up one day and he said, "Hey, you want to go out and have a couple of beers and throw some darts?" I was like, "You're going to go out and get a little drunk and throw sharp metal objects around a crowded bar? That sounds like a recipe for disaster." But he's like, "No, it's the greatest pub game." So we went and did that and just hooked. Then we went and played darts all the time. So inspired by what Vince and John did with Swingers, I thought, well, let me write a script for me and my friends, and that's when I wrote Bulls. It was that was a thing that we did, and it took place mostly in bars. It was meant to be inexpensively made, sort of like Swingers, and that's what happened. And a lot of people were interested in it, and it was one of these things, where it's like. So it was me, and I wrote a part for me and Paul and Mike Shannon and Adam Scott, and John Hamm did one of the first readings of it with us. He sort of ran around in our group too, and people were interested in it, but sometimes couldn't get the funding, or people were like, let's get more money. It just never came together, and then those guys all went off to be really big, really successful, pretty big stars. And then I just kind of put it away. And then last summer, somebody suggested what if I did it here? And sort of one thing led to another, and now here we are. And the great thing about that is that it feels like this is exactly how it was meant to be.
And so you wrote it, and you were 20 years younger then. And you were thinking of casting yourself. So now, as you're thinking about it, is your cast going to be of the age that you are now, or are you going to cast 20 years? Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that?
It's great. I don't have any, I'm directing, so I don't have any interest in being, I kind of lost the excitement and love for acting that I had a long time ago. We did Pottersville, and there was a role available, and producers there, Ron Perlman called me up one day. He's like, "Come on, why don't you just play this part?" And I was like, "I just don't want to. I don't want to." About 10 years ago, we made a short film in New York that called Happy Hour that did some festivals and won an award, and and I acted in it, and it was my least favorite part of the process. So the writing, the producing was great, and now this is my first time directing and going through this process, and I'm just madly in love with it. The directing thing seems to really fit my brain pretty well so far.
So now, as you're thinking about the casting, though, are you I mean, how did you envision it? I mean, you wrote it for yourself and your friends, so that was like at an age of 20 years ago. So now, how are you seeing it? Like, what age range are you going to cast these buddies at? Like
Yeah, these guys will all be around, 30. I think
30s?
probably like early 30s. I brought. We did a reading at Zorn Brewery here in Michigan City. It's where we're going to shoot the Hank and Austin are the two main characters, and that's gonna be our bar where we shoot for them. So I brought some friends in from Chicago that read some of the main parts, including Hank and Austin, the two main characters, and then we cast a bunch of a lot of friends. Kelly Daisy, our producer, she's done some films around here, and she brought in some people that she's worked with. And I brought in some friends of mine, some of that I had never acted before, but I had rehearsed with them beforehand. And the reading just went phenomenal.
Wow.
Across. And I tell you, I had expected that the professional actors that came in from Chicago, there to be this huge gap between them and the people that we use locally. And that was not the case at all. It felt pretty even playing board. So I'm very excited about using local people in the movie, and that's really what the movie's about. The movie is these two underdogs that get a chance to do something seemingly impossible because they're not really great at darts at the beginning, but then there's a coach that sort of hangs out, a guy that hangs out at their bar that ends up coaching them, and as they start to get better, the town really starts to rally around them, and that's exactly what has been happening with our film, is that the town, the community has been rallying around the films, mirroring the action of the film. And it's already just been kind of a magical experience.
Are you beyond the table read? I mean, have you actually shot some footage already, or you're just in the table read stage?
No. Yeah, just a table read. We're locking down locations now. We're still in the process of, getting the financing. But on the way there, we're doing all this kind of stuff, but it's really, we're having just talked to an editor yesterday who had worked on Pottersville, the movie that we did, cinematographer who worked on that, a friend of mine who's won a couple of Emmys, set design, to be our set designer. So we're in the process of trying to bring all these elements together. So if we're fortunate enough to, there's some wood here, I'll knock on that real quick. But if we're fortunate enough to get all of these amazing people to be on our film, production-wise and all that, it's going to be really something special. So that's what we're doing now. And then the casting will start after the first of the year. So have some ideas in mind. We want to bring in, I have some, lucky enough to have some well-known actor friends. So we're going to try to, really, I have to probably get down on my knees and beg, for one of them to come in and be in it for a couple of days or something. But yeah.
The two main characters will, they own the bar. So that's Zorn. And then I read that the big championship is going to be someplace else. Have you picked that location out yet?
And we're kind of narrowing it down.
Good.
So we had we had a meeting about that yesterday, because the majority of the movie, probably half of the movie, takes place in Hank and Austin's bar, which will be at Zorn, and then where the World Dart Championship is. And that's the big finale of the movie. So about half of the movie takes place just between those two locations. But most of the movie in our world of the film of Bulls will take place in the Uptown Arts District here in Michigan City, between like there and the beach. But that's where the in the movie the bar is set, and then there's a couple of other businesses friend owns and stuff that's kind of where they live. Their apartment is there. So a lot of the exteriors and that will be shot in the Uptown Arts District, and then some out at the beach and stuff like that. So,
are you still looking for local cast? I mean, Northwest Indiana, is a theater-rich community. Depending on where you go, are you still looking for some of those other cast members?
We're looking for all the cast members.
Okay.
We haven't officially cast anything yet, so we're looking for all of the cast. And that's pretty much just how the process works.
Right.
We're still 7 months out. So, but this is what's been really important to me, is to showcase this part of our community where we live. This Northwest Indiana. And so it's really important to me to use local actors. The movie being set in, largely in bars, I always want there to be like some music playing in the background. So, want local musicians, who have bands.
We have some great local musicians.
Yes.
So I want to use all of that in the film to, promote local actors, promote local musicians, all that stuff. This is my hope, is that when the movie comes out and people see it, people go, I can't believe that's Indiana. Because I think people have this sort of, this sort of idea of what it is, cornfields and, farmers and that. And we do have that. And, my grandfather owned a farm, and which is great. But there's also another part to it, and so I really want them to sort of see the whole. And we're going to show like the farms and all that kind of stuff in the film too. And this is part of the opening credit sequence that I have. That I want to show like a day in the life of Michigan City. So we're going to see a wide spectrum of the community here. And that's the other thing I've done too, is that I've went through and looked at the most recent census of the area, and we want to cast accordingly to that too, just so that it's an accurate representation of our town, because the town ends up playing a character in the film. So I really want to do as accurate a representation of the area as possible. So
yeah, it's a terrific community.
Yes. So let's ask you some advice for a young actor. You've been through the process, and you've sort of moved into producing, directing, and writing. But what would be the advice if someone, young guy, gal, is looking to start a career in acting?
I will tell you, Larry David gave me the best advice when I was starting out. And he said, "Kid, I hear you're pretty talented." He said, "But it took me," I think this was when Seinfeld just started out. It was, it hadn't been a hit yet. And he was like, "We're going to get canceled. We're going to get canceled." And he said, "But it took me 40 some years to ever make a nickel in this business." And he said, "So just stick with it. If this is what you want to do, stick with it." And I thought it was just great advice. I think you kind of get down on yourself, you get disappointed, but if it's something you love to do, why not spend your life doing something you love to do?
One of the advice I used to give my students, I said, you can remember that rejection is not you personally, it's you as a product. And you have to separate you as an acting product from you as an individual. And I said, sometimes the audition you go to doesn't get you that job, but sometimes the director or someone saying, "You remember that person we had for blah, 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 blah," will bring you back to another job. So I've seen that many times. Many times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I can't tell you how many times I would go into a room and, for whatever reason, it's just like, that's not right. And I always thought too, as an actor, like it didn't matter to me if I had a good performance or I had a good audition. I knew intuitively that I had done a good job that day. And if I didn't get it, then that's fine. And if I did, that's amazing. But I always knew, how good of a job I did or not. And that's really that was my barometer. Like, not so much whether I was just like, no, today I did a good job. And I left it there.
So you'll be starting, are you going to do a cattle call, or how are you going to start casting and production process, because this is going to air during New Year's weekend. And
Yeah, it'll be shortly after that. Right now, so we're trying to build our whole like social media platform for it. We have a Facebook page called Bulls the Movie at Facebook, and the notices for casting and all that will be there, casting crew and all that kind of stuff. And so if anybody follows that page, anybody wants to be involved, whether it's as an actor, a musician, work on the crew, PA, extra, whatever it is that you're interested in, excited about, if you just go to Bulls the Movie at Facebook and follow that, and everything will be announced there first. That would be the best way to do it.
And how about email? Can they email you or email someone in your company if they have questions like that?
Yes, we have an email at bullsmcin.
At Gmail.
Michigan. bullsmcin@gmail.com.
Right.
And you can email there. And we will get back to you. We have responded. we have responded to every email, every message on Facebook, all of it. And we try to do it as promptly as possible because, it's exciting to people. And we don't want to, come off as jerks. So we get back to people as fast as we can. So.
Now you're looking to actually start film production, like I'm assuming summer of 23. Is that too soon, or?
I read spring.
Or spring, yeah.
Yeah, mid-May. So, wanted to. Once if we got into summer, then like some of the locations and stuff we need they're booked up. It's too busy. Blah blah blah. But I also wanted to show the town at the time when it's coming to life. It's springtime. It's starting to get warm and the flowers are blooming and all that. I want people to see it that it's that it's.
You're going to do some lake shots, right?
Oh yeah, lake shots, drone shots. We'll see the city from the lake view and vice versa, and all of that's going to be in there. So
we're about 1 minute left here. Just give us a quick wrap up about, and you sort of already touched on it, how to get in touch with you. And, I don't know if you have a website up and you have a Facebook presence, and tell us a little about that.
Yeah, we again, the Facebook presence, we're in the process. Again, Bulls the Movie at Facebook, and then bullsmcin@gmail.com. Those are the two main places now. But we will be, and hopefully by the time this comes out, we'll be doing an Instagram page and I think a LinkedIn page.
Right.
And I think that's what we have planned right now. Social media is not my area of expertise, but we have people that are in charge of that. So, but those are the main places: Bulls the Movie Facebook page and bullsmcin@gmail.com.
Well, very good. Well, we appreciate you coming on Art on the Air and sharing about Bulls being shot in Michigan City. It's a feature film with Dan Meyer directing and writing. And so if you have information, we will have a link on our website that will take them directly to that, and you can find out more information. Dan, thank you so much for coming on Art on the Air.
Oh, yeah, this is so exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys come out and be a part of the movie, too.
Well, maybe those days are past.
We'll take you up on
that. Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you so much.
This is Whitney Reynolds of The Whitney Reynolds Show, and you're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM, and on WVLP 103.1 FM.
We are pleased to welcome Sophia Agranovich to Art on the Air. Sophia is an internationally acclaimed pianist, recording artist, and educator. A Steinway artist, she has collaborated with prominent musicians and members of major orchestras. Among her venues are Lincoln Center and Carnegie Hall in New York, the Erbastal in Austria, Kaiser Hall in Vienna, and the Sala Cortu in Paris. Her 10th album, Franz Liszt's Rhapsodies, Etudes, and Transcriptions, was released on September 2nd of 2022 and has already garnered numerous awards. Thank you, Sophia, for joining Larry and I on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for invitation, and I'm thrilled to be here. So I'm looking forward to our conversation.
I totally loved your choices on this album. Just so beautiful. I particularly love the Hungarian pieces, but the whole album is just so gloriously beautiful. Thank you.
Well, Sophia, we like to know a little bit about you for our audience. I always like to say how you got from where you were to where you are now. So tell us about yourself.
What do you think should be the starting point?
Well, where you grew up and everything. Just tell us everything about you that you want to share.
Yeah, especially like how you chose, like how you became in love with the piano and.
Okay. I was born in Ukraine. It used to be a Soviet Union when I was born. Now it's Ukraine, as we know. And I left when I was 15 with my family for personal reasons. But before that, I started playing piano when I was 5. My mother was my first music teacher. And it was not because I really planned to be a musician. It was part of general education, music, languages, mathematics, advanced mathematics, not from childhood, but a little later. And this came very easy to me, all the lessons. So I was going very fast, and my mom decided to to ask a private teacher to give me a lesson. So I started taking lessons, and then they suggested I go to the official music school, which I did. I was accepted. And that's how it's all started. And I started giving concerts. I did public concerts since I was 6. And everybody thought I have talent. I didn't know it. I didn't feel it. I was just practicing, not much as usual. It just came very easy to me. I loved the pieces, so it made it very enjoyable to play. And then I won a competition. It was all Ukrainian competition. I had no idea about the magnitude of it. We went through a bunch of kids from my school. It became international Lysenko competition, I found right now. But it started all these years, so many years ago. And my teacher said, oh, you have to go to Moscow, to the special music school. My parents would never let me go alone, of course. And nobody planned for me to be a professional musician. My father was a dentist. My mother was an English teacher and translator. And, they loved music. My mother was erudite. We had so many records, LPs, and opera all the time. She was singing all the arias. She was very talented, men's and women's, in different languages too. So they said, okay, that's very good. You have music, you have talent, but take it easy. It's a very hard life to be a musician, and especially artist and ballet dancer, which I would love to be at the time. Just you will grow up, you will decide. And at the same time, we had to go to United States. So when we left and we came to America, I was communicating with my teacher, and she said, you have to go to Juilliard because at your level, you have a chance to get in. So we rented a piano. I was practicing. I said, I would never get to Juilliard, but I wanted to. My parents said, you practice, I practice, because I was very docile child. And so I went to the exam and I got in. I was very, very surprised at the time. And Sasha Gorodnitsky himself took me into his class while I was in pre-college. And I was the only person who him took. Because Sasha Gorodnitsky was a full-fledged professor, head of the piano faculty in college. So he had 2 kids, me and Raul Sunico in pre-college. Raul Sunico is a very famous Filipino pianist. So, and I was interested in many, many subjects. Like in Ukraine, I was a very good student in school. I loved science, math, languages, all kinds of stuff. So I continued reading a lot and practiced reasonably to be prepared for lessons and my theory classes. And also, again, never planned to be a musician because came to America and I realized how hard it is. You have to have a steady job, especially, if I was planning to ever get married, have kids, you have to support the family. So I was in Juilliard. I also won a couple of competitions there. And Sasha Gorodnitsky wanted me to go to a lot of competitions in different countries. My parents didn't have money or ability to come with me. They would never let me go alone because it's dangerous for a girl, very old-fashioned family. So I just graduated Juilliard and went to the Columbia University to take my PhD for music education in Teachers College. And at the same time, I got married and I was expecting my first baby, and it was very hard to do everything. And I have to think how I'm going to live. So I went to computer programming course at the same time as I went to Columbia. It was very difficult. And I loved it. I loved programming. It was very interesting to me and came very easily. And I said, oh, that's good. it can be my backup job somewhere. But I was concentrating on my child, of course, when she was born, and I was giving piano lessons. And then it came time that I have to help to support. So I got a job in programming in MetLife Insurance because one of my students was working there, and he said, every lunch he practices on Steinway Grant in a big auditorium. I said, that's a dream job. Because I can play piano at lunch, I can earn money in something that I really like, and then I'll, do it for a year and two, and then just like do whatever, because I didn't plan to be in programming. So I actually got that job. My interview went very well, although, it's, I never had any experience with stuff. I was good at it. I read a lot about computers. And I was stuck in this field for 23 years after that. It was very good. My career was quite successful. Eventually, I got an award from MetLife, like presidential award for some development. And I don't want to get into details, which I can. And then I switched to Merrill Lynch because it was more challenging, because they said MetLife is like a country club job. I like challenge. It was boring. And I started looking for pianos in Merrill Lynch, and companies surrounding. I thought every company is supposed to have a Steinway Grant. But it was not so. I was very disappointed. I said, okay, somebody will fire me anyway because, it's not my real profession. So I'll go back to music. But it never happened. I kept getting promoted. I kept learning all these new languages and platforms, which I really enjoyed. And I had to practice at night. So I told about the whole story to Sasha Gorodnitsky and also Nadia Reisenberg, who was my other professor and Juilliard. A very nice woman and so knowledgeable. I'm so happy I knew her. She was like a friend of the family, very warm personality. And both of them told me, keep practicing. You never know what will happen. Do whatever you can, just touch the piano every day. So I did it, sometimes with closed eyes, sometimes 20 minutes. And I kept some pieces alive and my technique. So I thought to have a good career in programming, but I hate politics, especially like corporate politics. I just couldn't deal with it. So I went to the level of VP and said, that's it. I cannot go anywhere because it's not for me. It's not me. And they Merrill Lynch was merging with Bank of America, which we didn't know. So they offered a huge package, beautiful, like Cadillac package, to all the people who were like over 20 years. And I thought it's stupid for me not to take it. And then I'll get another job. So I took this package. It's voluntary retirement. And at the same time, I had personal issues because it's about my mom. I don't want to get into details, but she was in semi-coma for 6 months because of the doctor's mistake. And I got so depressed and started reevaluating my life for the 10th time. And I said, you know what? I'm not going back to programming. I'm doing what I like. And because I always loved medicine, I actually helped my father when he came to America to help him learn English and study for his dental exam, which is very hard, even for native borns. He finally became a dentist at the end of his life, which is amazing. So I decided I'm going to holistic healing because I loved that. I read a lot of holistic medicine. I love yoga. I did it on my own. And I got all the certifications in yoga, holistic life coach, Pilates, and God knows what, a lot of certifications. And then I started teaching yoga just to earn a little bit money, started giving piano lessons just to earn money while I was soul searching. And I signed up for a course in Columbia for holistic healing. But then I started giving like local concerts. People asked me to play and everybody loved it. Nobody knew that I was a programmer. And I got some brilliant students, brilliant little kids, and sending them to competitions. They started winning. And started having kind of a name as a teacher, and I enjoyed really working as a teacher with kids. Before I didn't like that so much, but now I probably matured, and having my own kids, it enhanced it. I love dealing with different personalities and difficult students, because it's very exciting to uncover what they really can do. So I said, you know what? I'm not doing yoga anymore, Pilates, all this holistic healing is very impractical because you have to get a license all over the place and, build, not the audience, the clientele. So I will stick with music for a couple of years and see what happens. So I put a resume. Resume looked real well, as if I didn't put that I was a programmer, because I actually got a manager for free. He was helping me out. He really liked the way I played. And he said, don't say anything about your programming, because it's very unusual. People will not take you too seriously. Well, listen. And then year after year, then I started doing recordings, and my career picked up. And now I'm actually going live with telling that I'm a programmer. I used to say it in some other interviews, but I think it's very interesting, and I don't care what people might think, it's professional or non-professional. I think it enhances us, whatever we do different from expected route. And it definitely enhanced me, because I was extremely introverted, and going to all kinds of meetings and making big decisions for the whole company and big projects made me go out of my shell. So now I'm able to talk to you and give other interviews, go on a stage, and without hesitation, although I'm always worrying and thinking,
You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM, and on WVLP 103.1 FM.
It's kind of interesting. I wonder if it sounds like you have a freedom with your music that, not very many artists get to have. So with this, you get to really, really choose what you want to do and how you want to do it. And so with this current album, so you got to choose all the pieces you love. So how did that come together?
I actually have a very big repertoire, because now I can tell it's not a secret. It used to be a secret from Sasha Gorodnitsky that whenever I had to be to practice assigned pieces, I got really bored, after a week or two, although they were not polished or anything. I didn't know. I was learning all kinds of different repertoire, sight reading, improvising. So I accumulated a lot of repertoire, which needs to be worked on, but I have a huge base. So every year I try to do kind of new 80%, 90% new program. And I accumulate the pieces, and then I make an album out of it. And I try to make an album by one composer, because that's what they told me. It's good, people enjoy it. Professionals, they like just by one composer. They don't like a lot of composers at the same time, which, probably there are exceptions. So I accumulated a lot of pieces by list, and I just recorded them and released. This is my second list album. First list album was for his 200th anniversary in 2011, which has also big pieces like Liszt Sonata in B minor, couple of etudes, and Spanish Rhapsody. So this is my second. And in 2018, I did an album, half Liszt, half Chopin. And that album had Dante Sonata and complete sonatas del Petrarca and Hungarian Rhapsody number 14.
Well, we should take a listen to one of the things, and I think one of them that we wanted to is Di Forella, which is the trout. And just tell us a little about that, and we'll take a quick listen to that.
This is a transcription by Liszt. My album is titled Rhapsodies, Etudes, and Transcriptions, which I selected pieces like examples of his major areas of piano works. And everybody knows Schubert. Schubert wrote about over 600 songs, which are so beautiful. And Liszt transcribed 50 of them for piano. He tried to be close to the Schubert's version, but of course he enhanced it with some virtuosity and more deep sound for the piano. And this is a very beautiful song. It describes Forel, who swims around and doesn't even suspect that she's going to get caught by devious men. But even when Forel got caught, she still swims around at the end, and she still enjoys life and beautiful water. And this is it's almost impressionistic and beautiful and dancing, coquettish, charming melody. I love playing it. It just lifts my mood every time I play it.
Well, let's take a quick listen to it. Die Forelle from Sophia Agranovich. And that was Die Forelle, Sophia Agranovich. Wow, that was beautiful. And
I know, so much lightness and, like you say, dancing. That's what it is. It's very tinkling and beautiful.
Well, unfortunately, because you have such a wonderful story, we almost have to wrap it up here. But I want to give you a chance to talk about how people can listen to your music, websites, things like that, and how they can contact you.
I'm all over social media, of course, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I have a lot of videos. A lot of videos were taken not by professional camera without any editing, but I still put them there because I like the pieces and it's spontaneous. And other social media. So, and of course, on my website, everything is listed, including my contact and my personal email. So please contact me.
We appreciate you coming on Art in the Air. You can find her website. We'll also have a link on our page. Sophia Agranovich, pianist. And what a great story.
Yes.
Everything you've done. Thank you so much for coming on Art on the Air.
Thank you very much again. And I hope to see you again and hear you again.
Same. Many times.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
We'd like to thank our guest this week on Art on the Air, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art on the Air is heard Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming live at WVLP.org, and every Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our Spotlight interviews are also heard every Wednesday on Lakeshore Public Radio. Thanks to Tom Maloney, Vice President of Radio Operations for Lakeshore Public Radio, and Greg Kovach, WVLP's Station Manager. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. Art in the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. We'd like to thank our current underwriters for Art in the Air on Lakeshore Public Radio, Macaulay Real Estate in Valparaiso, Olga Patrician, Senior Broker, and for WVLP, Walt Breidinger of Paragon Investments. So we may continue to bring you Art on the Air. We rely on you, our listeners and underwriters, for ongoing financial support. If you're looking to support Art on the Air, we have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA, where you can find out how to become a supporter or underwriter of our program in whatever amount you are able. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good, and you'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. If you're interested in being a guest or sending us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Breckner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the Air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the Air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.